So I don't know why that's there. Go away. All right, so this week there's a couple of activities. So, oh, sorry, there's only one activity. A couple of quizzes, a discussion, which I'm going to talk about right now before I talk about the Google Earth thing, and then a couple of optional. Each of you is going to write up about a particular volcano that you've been assigned based on your student ID number. Why isn't this working? Hello, nurse. Okay, internet's good. All right, so the leading zeros were chopped off because I did it in Excel, but this is an example. This is actually just a link to a website, but it tells you all the stuff. So where is it? Why is it there? What kind of, eruptions does it have? When was the most recent eruption, or like when were some devastating ones? And then what is the aftermath? And then how can you prepare for a volcano such as that one? So the idea is that you'll have like a timeline leading up to the major eruptions. Some of them have had a variety of eruptions over the years. But for example, with Mount St. Helens, it was like there were a whole bunch of earthquakes right before, and then all of a sudden, half the side blew off of it. So if it's that kind of thing, or you can, talk about, eruption events. So maybe they happen on a regular or something like that. The idea is that you're just going to use the information that you've learned about volcanoes and, so what type of magma is present, is it high in silica? Is it a really explosive volcano? Is it just, did it, bury an entire city? I think I have Pompeii in here somewhere. So that'd be Mount Vesuvius, yeah. So, so basically just write about a particular volcano and try and get as much details. So pictures, things like that. Be creative, have some photos, and that's what you'll do. And then comment on other people's case studies in order to get full credit as always. So, say, hey, wow, that's really cool, or I read this, or wow, I learned a lot, or hey, you forgot to talk about, how to prepare for the next eruption, right? Or something like that. So kind of look at other people's stuff and give them feedback. So that's your discussion for this week. So that's the first part. Okay, cool. All right, Google Earth volcanoes. All right, you either need to use the PDF. There's one in Google Docs or a doc file, Microsoft Word. So I'm going to go to the Google Drive one and make a copy.
Professor?
Yep.
Beside the discussions and the quizzes, the activity is also requirement, right?
Yes, the Google Earth volcano, the thing I'm talking about right now. Yes.
Yeah, it's not optional, right? It's requirement.
No, it is required. The viscosity lab and the analyzing volcanoes are optional.
Okay.
So, and I'll talk about those here in a second too. All right, so this one you're going to use Google Earth and you're going to explore 3 different volcanoes. And you're going to, mark where they're at. So if you're doing this in Google, you can copy this picture and you can insert it again as a drawing. So I'm just going to paste the picture in here. And then I can put my little dots wherever locations are. So, oops, that's border color. So I can just put a letter. Hey, why not? Let's just put a little text box, or you can put a shape, I guess. You put a circle. So there, fabulous. Fill that in. Okay. So if that's where one of them is, and then you'll need to label which one's which. So in the past, students have done like it color coded. So they did like one that's black and one that's red and one that's green. I've had other people put ABC. I've had other people insert text boxes and say, you know, this is Mount St. Helens, but the map gets kind of crowded if you write really big. You still should put a dot because, you know, so this is where Mount St. Helens is, which it's not, but let's say it was, then you do something like that. So that's the one thing that, excuse me. Goodness, that I don't have a video on how to do, ironically, is how to turn this into a picture, but now you just saw me do it. Woo, yay me. Okay, so now, oh, excuse me, you're going to answer these questions, and then you need to create some screenshots. Now, students in the past have not done this correctly, and so I want to make sure that you understand that there are some videos. These are all very short, like less than 5 minutes a piece, me narrating how to, you know, use Google Earth, how to find a particular location, how to go around a location, how to create the profile. So the first thing you're supposed to do is a screenshot of the profile of this particular volcano. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go to Google Earth and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. Hopefully this will work. My fingers crossed. My internet has been wishy-washy today, so hoping this will work. Mm-hmm. 4.6 billion years takes a long time. Just kidding. All right, so I'm not going to do parts train. I'm going to do, we'll do this one, Mount Kilimanjaro. So you would type in the name of the mountain you're looking for. All right. Okay, so you can see that it zooms into the particular thing. So what I'm looking for is a profile, what it looks like from the side. So, you know, something like this would work. And then I would just screenshot it. So control print screen is a really good one. And then I can paste that here. Oh, that's cute. You got both of my screens. Crop out the top one. Just like that. And then you would do the same. So that's not this volcano, but all right. So the next thing I want you to do is find the elevation of the bottom and the top, and then the bottom of the crater. So I'm going to go back to Google Earth. Oops, this Google Earth. So the bottom of the volcano in this particular case is, I don't know, it looks like, I would say it's like down in here, but so when you hover your cursor over in the lower right-hand corner, right over here, hopefully you can see this, it gives me the elevation. So I'm going to say that this whole thing is the stratovolcano that makes up this thing. So I'm going to hover my thing over there. It says it's 1654, and then, oops, I just zoomed past it. That was genius right there. And then here's the top edge. So that says it's at 58, right? And then the bottom of the crater looks like it's down in here. And that says it's 57.45. So you would fill that into your table if that were the correct one. One of the ones that is hard is the slope of the volcano in degrees. Remember that slope is rise over run. So the calculation on the distance from the top to the bottom of the crater. That one's different. So this is going to be rise over run. So this one requires you to do a little bit of mathematics. So you would need to know where that original point was. You already have the rise because we did it. So you would need to draw a line. So if I draw a line from the bottom to the top, it's 12,584 meters. So that's what you would put in for the rise, the run. And then the rise is simply the bottom to the top subtracted. So that's how you would do that. And then to measure the width, you would use the same tool. So of course it wants it in miles, which is kind of funny. So if you click on the little triangle here, you can switch this to miles. So come on, baby. So we go from one side to the other. Close enough. 2.17 miles. What else is it asking me for? The width of the crater. Oh, width of the volcano, width of the crater. Oh, sorry. That would be the crater. Or if you wanted to, well, yours are going to have a more definitive crater, but let's say I was only doing this part. Start new. So I'd say this is the crater, because this is where the active part of it, the sucker, is. So it looks like half a mile, but it wants it in feet, so you can always change that later. So 2,925 feet. And then the entire volcano, Mount Kilimanjaro, is a interesting little bugger. It's more lengthwise than it is short, like this way. So just pick a side. Most of the ones I gave you are typical roundish. So, but Kilimanjaro is weird. It is still a stratovolcano, but it has an old stratovolcano over in this area, and so it's a little different in that particular case, but still a good option. And then the type of volcano. So remembering or not, I'm just going to tell you there are three main types of volcanoes. Composite volcanoes, those are the ones that are steep-sided, and so Mount Kilimanjaro is a good example of a composite cone. You have cinder cone volcanoes, which are typically not very tall, but still cone. They can have a decent slope to them. And then shield are low and broad, like Captain America's shield. So those are the three main types. You don't need to go beyond that. You will need to pick three other volcanoes. So there are tons of volcanoes out there to pick from. I just showed you one, Mount Kilimanjaro. And so you could go to that one, but you could just go volcanoes of the world, or you could look at, the discussion for this week, where I've listed, 23 volcanoes, one for each person. So just pick three that aren't these three and do the same thing and figure out what kind of volcano they are. So the idea is that you're using your data to support your type of volcano thing, not that you're Googling what kind of volcano is Mauna Loa. Okay, that's the idea. And then answer these questions. And then, it says do not choose Mount Shasta. Oh, that's because that's the one I did in my in my videos. These are all on using Mount Shasta as an option. I'm like, why not Mount Shasta? Because that's the one I made videos about. So that's how this one works. And I want to give you guys time to work on that today. So I'm going to try and keep my thing short so that you can use class time or live lecture time to work on that. This viscosity lab, this is a fun one. It's a wet lab. We used to do it in class. It's very hands-on. You need to find 3 liquids. Condiments are good, mustard, mayonnaise, ketchup, honey, syrup, like for your pancakes, Tabasco, whatever you got laying around your house. and you need, you're gonna have 4 different ones, and you're gonna take photos that show that you actually did it. Remember, this one is optional. If you're working with somebody, if you wanna, you know, say, hey, so-and-so on Zoom or whatever, or maybe you have a lab partner from the lecture class or somebody, you know, and you're like, hey, why don't you do 2 and I'll do 2. You can share the results with each other. Just make sure you work, you tell me who did the work, and you plot all the liquids on your graph. So you're going to still make 4 line graphs. They need to be different colors. So let me show you the directions so you can better understand what I'm talking about. So this one's a PDF. So basically you're gonna need a stopwatch, so you can just use your cell phone as a stopwatch. You need something to catch them. I've had students do this like on a cookie sheet, on the back of a cookie sheet or a cutting board, and in their sink as their catch tray. You don't need anything too fancy, just something that you can, you know, put, and then something to support it, that you don't mind if it gets, you know, covered in chocolate sauce or whatever. And basically you're going to put a tablespoon of each liquid at the top of your paper, and start the stopwatch and take how long it takes each of the liquids to make it to the bottom. And you're going to do it 3 times. So 4 liquids, 3 tries, and then take the mean. That's add the 3 times up and divide by 3. So you need to have 4 liquids, not just 3. And then you're going to do each test 3 times, because that's, you know, scientifically accurate to check for things. And then it says, you know, plot your results using a bar graph, using the mean time taken on the y-axis and the type of liquid on the x-axis. A bar graph, that's the one with the bars that stick up. So it might say, like, you know, chocolate syrup, and then you have, you know, it took, you know, this much time, and then, you know, honey, it took like this much time or whatever. So it's a bar graph, not a line graph. I think I said line graph at some point, but it is a bar graph, sorry. And then you're going to talk about viscosity. Viscosity is the resistance to flowing. So if it's more viscous, it's not going to flow. And the least viscous is going to be the thing that runs the fastest. And then you're going to answer some questions based on this material here. Based on your experiment, do you think the lava flow that created these volcanoes were viscous or not viscous? And write your answers. So with a shield volcano, do you think that's going to be low viscosity or high viscosity? And then same thing with composite cones. And then kind of extrapolating, do you think that less viscous stuff will be more or less eruptive or explosive? So explosive or not so explosive, just kind of like oozing versus blowing all over the place. So again, this is an optional one. This is one of the ones we used to do in class. It was kind of fun. You know, I'd bring in, you know, Tapatio from, well, packets, which was never good for the environment, but really good for me because it kept it simple and I could keep them for millennia. Oh, and a student brought them in once and I never got rid of them because we weren't eating them. So it was okay if they were expired, but I had to throw them out last year because they've been sitting in my garage. They're really quite nasty. So that's one of the optional ones. It talks about viscosity. And the other one is analyzing different volcanoes. So kind of piggybacking on that, you're going to read an article and then watch a video and answer some questions, and then watch another, go to a website and answer some questions. And all of this stuff, I guarantee, will help you with your quiz. This one here is the most helpful with the quiz. So if you're going to do any of the optional activities to help you with your quiz, this would be the one to do, because it goes over all, you know, it goes over what viscosity is, it goes over, you know, explosive and, you know, gentle eruptions and things like that. So any questions? Sweet. All right, so cursor. All right. right, well, that's all I have for this week. Again, I want to give you the rest of the live lab time to work on the live lab, which is the live lab activity, which is the looking at the different volcanoes in Google Earth. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get back to you. Try and be as specific as possible because I don't know, my brain is not being as cooperative as usual. I don't know why. So I'm easily confused today. I don't know what's going on. All right, so have a good week and I'll stick around in case anybody has any questions they want to ask, but otherwise have a good one. All right, sweet.